Okay guys, in the previous tutorial I showed to you how to create a default ASP.NET MVC application and how to deploy it to the Aether. We dive deep into the Aether, not that deep of course, but deep enough just to see how to create eventually app services. I didn't create and didn't show how to create app services, but it's very simple. You just click on the Add button, you choose the resource group, and the application is created. I show it to you also how to download eventually the credentials. I'll show it to you that you can download the credentials from here, so you have the details on how to connect to this application in order to deploy your ASP.NET MVC application. I showed you how to create a database as well. This was shown in the previous tutorial. And now we will continue with the things which I think are important. Publish clean project. I showed to you also that I had problems in one of my computers with Visual Studio, and what I did just to avoid it, before publishing each time I do clean of the project. If your Visual Studio just restarts when you try to publish, I do clean, and after that publish. Another way to do that is go to properties and change settings. I'm not going to repeat that. If you like, you can watch the previous tutorial. Okay, now we'll continue with the topics I think are important. And as I said, I will follow one tutorial which I find very close to the topics I want to cover. Now, in this tutorial, the guy talks about the enabling SSL. Actually, I didn't need it in my projects. I didn't do it before, so I'm doing this right now. I'm gonna do it just for fun. Okay, what if you want to allow SSL for your application? It's quite simple. I'll do it as it explained into the tutorial. SSL enabled false, SSL enabled true. Let's say the URL. Let's see the URL which we're gonna get. 44300. I haven't used before, so that's why I'm getting this port. Now we have to go to the properties of the application as it described in the tutorial. You can make a search for this tutorial. I will go on top again just to see the name. Create an ASP.NET MVC app without an SQL database and deploy to Aether application service. Probably you can see the URL as well here. I can zoom in. I don't believe somebody is gonna type that much, but who knows. Database. Okay, so in the mind map you can find a link. Under the tutorial you will find a link to the mind map, and in this branch there is a link to this tutorial as well. This is another way to find it. I may even put a link directly to the tutorial. We'll see. Okay, so now let's go back and continue with enabling SSL security socket layer for our application. We have deployed our application to the Aether. Okay, now we have to go to the web current page and say Internet Information Service Express project URL and change the project URL. Okay, let's do that. Web current page. This is how you change actually the project URL if you like to, and I'm gonna change it to the SSL. Override application root. Okay, to local 4430. Let's follow the tutorial. Choose Internet Explorer. I don't know why I prefer to use Chrome, and Firefox eventually shows the home page and there are no SSL warnings. Now we'll get warnings, that's all. Because there is no certificate, self-signed certificate, probably we have to use the browser selector. Lets you specify the browser. Okay, we'll choose Internet Explorer. Let's have fun. Let's use another browser right now. So that's done now. We can press Ctrl S to save the settings. Instead of Google Chrome, we can use Internet Explorer, and with Ctrl F5 we can run the application. This time it's gonna run in Internet Explorer. Let's see what's gonna happen now. We're gonna get SSL messages and warnings that this page is using SSL, but this certificate is not valid or something like that. Let's wait and see what happens. And here we go. This project is configured to use SSL. To avoid SSL warnings in the browser, you can choose to trust the self-signed certificate that Internet Information Service Express has generated. Would you like to trust the Internet Information Express SSL certificate? Yes, of course. You're about security warning. You're about to install a certificate from a certification authority claiming to represent localhost. Windows cannot validate that certificate as actually from localhost. You should confirm its origin by contacting localhost. The following number will assist you in this process. Do you want to install the certificate? Yes, of course. The certificate is going to be installed from Internet Information Services. Otherwise, we have to buy certificate if we are using this on the production and install this certificate there. In this case, we're not going to get any messages. Enable AVG tune-up. Don't enable. I don't need this AVG stuff. Maybe I should have, because right now I'm not seeing speed up your browser, close add-on. Close it. Waiting for localhost. I haven't used Internet Explorer since the installation of this computer, probably. It looks unnatural to me. But let's see how it looks. Waiting for localhost. I'm curious to see how it looks. By the way, I still keep the connection to the remote database in Azure open in my Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Here, the Management Studio, just to show you the databases, just to show you the tables and all this kind of stuff. Come on. View dependencies, script table, create two, drop, select two, new query editor. Let me see now the content on ASP.NET user. I have registered on the remote server on Azure, so I should be able to see one record at least. It's called adminexample.com. Object Explorer, come on. Wow. We're still connecting. What is my Internet Explorer? Maybe it crashed. Oh no. Here we go. So now you're using a self-signed certificate, HTTPS localhost 44300. Great. and my application works with SSL, Security Socket Layer. I'm proud. Okay. Now what happened here? Cannot contact database windows. A network-related instance specifier got while establishing connection. Okay. What can I say? I'm connected to the database anyway in the Visual Studio, in the SQL Server Object Explorer, and I can see the content of this table. At least I hope so. Come on. Again. Okay. That's it. Execute. Oh, I didn't enter the password. Yeah, of course. Level 16, state 1, use statement is not supported to switch between database, use a network connection to connect to different database. Okay, I agree. Object Explorer, whatever you say. View dependencies, I'm kidding, of course. Rename them, select to, new file, new query editor. Execute. Here we go. So, too much magic, too much magic. That's all I can say. But as you can see, I have been able to connect to my remote database through SQL Server Management Studio, and I can do whatever I like there. And also I'm connected through Server Object Explorer as well. Okay, so now let me follow the example. Microsoft Visual Studio, security warnings, getting started, we got there. Internet Explorer is a good choice when you're using SSL because it accepts the certificate and shows HTTP content without a warning. Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome also Firefox uses its own certificate store, so it displays a warning. Okay, just for fun, let's try that. We start in Internet Explorer. The application we start in Internet Explorer. I'm gonna close this. Actually, let me log in. Admin example.com, and the password is password7up. Login. As I said, I haven't used this Internet Explorer since ages, so I don't know even how it looks, but yeah, it looks great. Hello admin, contact, whatever, everything works in Internet Explorer. And I'm using a SSL, HTTPS. Okay, so now let's say, okay, I want to run in Google Chrome. Control F5. Let's see what Google is gonna say about this problem with the SSL. See, it says HTTPS, and the padlock is actually signed with this X local, and is not giving too much information. The identity of this website has been verified by localhost. No certificate transparency information was supplied by the server. The certificate for this site expires in 2007 or later, and the certificate chain contains certificates signed using SHA-1. Is encrypted using an obsolete cipher suite. The connection uses TLS1 and more information. But whatever it is, it works. At least it works. which is great. Now I'm going to try Firefox. Let me see if this still works. No, this of course is going to work, but let me see if localhost 1594 still works. Since we switched to SSL, yep, it's still working. So with SSL and without SSL, the site is working. Okay, I can close that or do whatever I like. Let me continue now. As I said, just for fun, let's try to run it in a different browser, Firefox. Let's see what Firefox thinks about this certificate. We'll get a lot of warnings. I'm not sure that we'll be able even to get to this page, to our page. We'll see. Okay. No, I don't want to use Firefox as my default. No, technical details. I understand the risk. Add exception. Add exception. This is the exception which we're gonna add now. No, I don't want to save it. Conform security exception, and voila, it works also here. So SSL works with Firefox as well. And honestly, I think that the Firefox works for some reason faster than other two browsers. No, I don't want to remember this. Wow. I have the feeling that Firefox is the fastest right now, even though usually Chrome is the fastest, or Internet Edge, Spartan Edge. People say that it's the fastest one. Whatever. So let's continue now with our tutorial. So we played a lot with SSL. Actually, not a lot, but we saw that it works in the three browsers. Now let's start with the fun part. Add a database to the application. Okay, we're gonna use code first, empty database approach. Of the four possible approaches, you begin by creating a simple data model in code. In Solution Explorer, we have to create, of course, a class, and I'm gonna contact CS. Okay, and I'm gonna copy and paste this code. So let's do that now. Actually, this should be created in the model. Models, of course, in the models. What else? Account view, identity models, manage view already has been created for us automatically for the identification system of the site. Add class. It's a contact. You can imagine here to add, for example, a forum or thread or post. You just have to determine the properties or attributes, as some people call it them. I call them properties. Contact. Here we go. This is the fun part. Contact. View models are also here in the models. Contact identity models. And now I'm gonna copy and paste the code because I don't want to type it. Using system component data annotations. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna add this using statements as well. Because my project is named the same as this one, I hope I'm not gonna have problems with my namespace. Contact manager, namespaces, contacts manager. My application is called contact manager. Models. Okay, so the ordinary stuff: contact ID, name, address, city, state, zip code. email address, data type, email. This is annotation, data type, emails, just to make sure. Actually, this adds a validation to the form, which is going to be created very soon. We are going to use again the magic of Visual Studio and Microsoft scaffolding, automatically generated controllers and views. The contacts class defines the data that you'll store for each contact. Of course, we can change this information, create web page that enable app user to work with the contacts. Now, if we are in different technology and we are not using Visual Studio now, we have to create CRUD, create, retrieve, update, delete, into the controller. But let's hope that Microsoft is gonna save this trouble for us and is gonna help us. Add controller. In my add a computer, the scaffolding is not working, which is not very nice. I'll save this, and I hope it's gonna work on this computer controller. MVC controller with views using Entity Framework. This is exactly what I need. Entity Framework is gonna help us a lot. Controller with views using Entity Framework. Let's just confirm this. Here we go. And contact manager, application DB context. We already have one context created for us automatically. We are gonna use the same context. I just make sure that all the names which I'm using are the same as the names used in the contact manager. Here I'm not sure. I think we have to build the project after creating the model. At least we had to. Data context class. We have only one context, which I can show you. Account view models, content identity models, manage view models, account controller. Okay, leave this empty. Let's make sure that CM controller. Okay, I'm gonna name it the same way because probably in the code somewhere down they use the same name. CM controller, contact manager controller. I believe it is CM small m controller, and I'm gonna say at, and here we go. Oops, there was an error running the selected code generator. There was an error. Contact manager model contact. Try rebuild the project. Okay, we'll build the project. Cancel, build solution, and after that I will try again. This is not the first time I'm having similar problems. Without building the project, actually you can generate the controller. Build started, project, contact manager. We'll wait for the build to come. Okay, build 1 succeeded, 0 failed, up to date, blah blah. Okay, let's try again. Add controller, MVC controller, contact, contacts. We're gonna use contact manager controller. Let's try and see what happens now. Scaffolding. Voila, this time probably is gonna work, and we'll end up having a new controller, and we'll have the views as well, which is just wonderful. CM controller. Probably, of course, if we work with a serious application, we should have a service layer where all the domain logic should be extracted and put there, and the controller. We even can use inject, for example, dependency injection container, and we'll have only one dependency. Controller will depend only on the inject, which is going to take care of instantiating objects and supplying the application with them. But right now, we're not going to do that. Controllers, voila! CM controller. I'm very curious to take a look. CM controller application DB context inherits from controller. Private application DB context. DB application DB context. The DB context was defined somewhere here. Let me see where it is. In one of those files, or maybe content is not in the content, of course. Identity model. This is a suitable place. Application DB context. Here we go. Class application identity models. Application DB context. Application DB context. Public system data entity set. Here it is. Public application DB context. Base default connection. Throw. Public application DB context. Click create. Here we go. Entity DB set. Contact manager models. Contact. The newly created contact was added. Here it is. Okay. Too much magic. We just choose different things from the GUI and graphic user interface, and the magic happens. Whatever, I'm thankful. At least quick start. That's all I can say. Okay, let's take a look. The CRUD has been created for us. Get. It shows me all the contacts which I eventually have in the table. This is details. When I click on one of the records, I get more detailed information. CM create. And this is the landing page for create, which shows me the form. And this processes the form after has been pressed the submit button. Again, for edit the landing page using method get, and after that processing the data sent with the form. Models is valid, models state is valid, DB entry contact state, entity state modified, DB save changes. It's quite simple. Index return DB save changes, add contact, extremely simple. And delete, override void dispose. This is the destructor. Okay, so let's continue. Now enable migration. Once we create that, we actually let's play a little bit. We actually can show, create, edit errors. Let's build the solution, and let's try it. Now in this tutorial we'll see how to populate with data, enable migration, and populate with data, test data, our table contacts. Because table contacts will be created, server object explorer, server explorer. We can here look at now our local connection. Let's see if the database has been changed. Let's think. Is the database table created? Not yet. Migration history, we have to enable migrations first, and after that this magic is gonna happen. Right now, if I try to work with this controller, probably I will get errors. Let me try and see if that's true, if that assumption is true. Microsoft keeps amazing me, so we'll see. This is the remote copy. This is actually the production server. ASP.NET. Building started. And we are waiting for the project to be built. Okay, so the project has been built. Okay, let me refresh just to make sure that everything works. Everything else works. Now, contact manager. I think Firefox is still open, so let me close that. I don't need it. Come on. Okay, let's try CM and see what happens. We didn't allow migration yet, so here we go. The model backing the application DB context has changed since the database was created. Consider using code first, migrations to update, blah blah. Okay, yes, exactly. This is what we are gonna use. Now, CM, here it is, the views for the CM, they also have been created, but now we have to enable migrations. In order to enable migrations, we have to get to the NuGet console, package manager console. We can do this two different ways. I'm gonna use this one. Okay, initialize in PowerShell. I'm waiting for this to complete, and we have to say enable migrations. In this case, we'll see one folder will be created for us, migrations here. Okay, very interesting result. Description, unhandled exception occurred. Yeah, of course. The database table doesn't exist. We see here, we're looking for contacts database. It's going to be created contacts database. We can control, of course, this as well, how the table is named and all this kind of stuff. We are not gonna go there right now. In order to enable migrations, we have to execute this command in the PowerShell. Oops, paste, enable migrations. We'll run our first migration, and after that update database. In this case, we'll see that locally the database is going to be created, and after that we'll see how we are going to transfer this to our remote server, to our SQL server. Enable migrations. We're still waiting. The folder migrations was created. Here it is. checking if the context targets an existing database. Yeah, it takes forever. Okay, checking. Detected database created with a database initializer scaffolded migration. Here we go. Correspond to existing database. To use an automatic migration instead, delete the migration folder and rerun enable migrations, specifying the enable automatic migrations parameter. We're not gonna do that right now. Code first migrations enable for project contact manager. Okay. So now let's do add migration initial. Those are like milestones. You give different names to your migrations. Initial. Now we're adding one migration, and after that we'll say update database. And new table should be created according to the default rules. Singular contact word is going to be pluralized, and the table will be named contacts. This is a default behavior which we can change in the configuration CS file here. Also in the configuration we can populate with the test data the database. Scaffolding migration initial. The designer code for this migration file includes a snapshot of your current code first model. This snapshot is used to calculate the changes to your model when you scaffold the next migration. If you make additional changes to your model that you want to include in this migration, then you can rescaffold it by running add migration initial again. Yeah, thank you. And finally, in this tutorial actually the guy first wants us to change the configuration to see how actually we can control the process of creating and populating with data, and controlling the names of the tables. Maybe in this tutorial he doesn't talk about that. Add following using statement. Use contact manager models. Okay, using the namespace, and after that contact manager models application db context, and now we're gonna populate our table contacts with data. Okay, let me look at here the configuration. Here we go, the configuration. Automatic migrations enabled, false. We didn't allow automatic migrations. Context key contact manager model application db context. And here we go. Protect override void seed. This is how we seed our tables with data. Let's add the namespace where our new model has been created. Contact manager models. And let's add the data which we are gonna use to seed contact models application database. Contact manager models application context. It's already there, as we can see, so we have to add only this to the file. There is no proper indentation, so I'm gonna push it a little bit to the right. Okay, what is going on here? Contacts, add or update pp name, new contact, name Deborah Garcia, blah 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 blah. Okay, so, and now once we have the configuration done, we can run the update, so the table will be created and at the same time will be seeded with data. Update database. That's great. It's really great and easy. Diliana Alexieva Boseva. That's a Bulgarian name, that's for sure. Specify the verbose flag to view the SQL statement being applied to the target database. Okay, now what if I run refresh now? Voila, here we go. Contacts has been created, table contacts has been created, and in another tutorials, for example, you can find a way to control how the database tables has been created, so we have full control over this process. And here we go, the table has been seeded with data. Now actually we can run our application again and go to this controller and make sure that we can do whatever we like. Okay, so build the application again, just for any case. Go again to our application and refresh. Before we got this error, right now, I hope we are not gonna get this error anymore. We'll see a list with all the contacts we have entered into the table. So, come on. Voila, everything works. Diliana example, edit and details, just let's make sure that everything works. Back to list, details, back to list, delete, I can create a new record, and a special validator has been added here with annotations, so it's not gonna probably allow me to enter something else but email. I'm surprised that front-end validation is not kicking. Create. Here we go. Please include in the email address, blah blah. Create. Here we go. We can see the details, or we can delete it. So everything works perfect, like a charm. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's continue with our tutorial. Let's see how much fun we can have. Add an OAuth 2 provider. I'm not sure I'm ready for that, but for detailed instruction how to use the Google and Facebook developer portal sites, this tutorial links to tutorials on ASP.NET site. However, Google and Facebook change their sites more frequently, that those tutorials are updated and they are now out of date. If you have trouble following the directions, see the feature discuss comment at the end of the tutorial. Using the membership API, I would say let's skip this. Using a membership API, use temporary code to add new social link. I will skip that. Protect the application with SSL and the authorize attribute. In this section you apply the authorize attribute to restrict access to the action method. Anonymous users will be able to view only index action methods. That's very useful, of course. Static void register global filters open up. Filter config file, replace the register global filters method with the following. Allow anonymous. What I'm gonna do actually, I'm just authorize roles can edit. I can show just how the authorization works right now. So let's say in our newly created controller we don't want to allow users, unidentified users actually, to without identification, the users to edit and change the data. All we want them to do is just list, for example, or view. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add this annotation. Authorize to the entire class. In other words, if somebody who didn't log in tries to access one of the actions, he's not gonna be allowed to do. He's gonna be redirected to login page. Let's build again and try that. And after that, I will change the settings a little bit to allow the non-authorized users to access at least the index. Application details. I'm not gonna allow them even to see the details. Okay, let's try again now and see what happens. We will be redirected to login page. We should be redirected, at least, because I didn't log in. And voila, this is exactly what happened. Now, in order to access my contact manager controller, I have to log in. Admin example.com, password, login, and let's try again to see if you can get to return URL. Actually, I will be redirected to this URL directly once I log in. Voila, now I can see it again. Log off. Now, if I want to allow, for example, users which didn't log in into the system to see the index, then I can say no authorized. Authorize action result. Let me take a look. Allow anonymous. Okay, so the entire class will be for only authorized users. except the action index, which will be allowed to everyone. Okay, we can build solution. We can try again. That's so easy with these annotations. Authorization done, very easy with the annotations. Okay, so let's try again. Here it is, our application. Let's try again CM, and I didn't log in, so I should be able to see the list of all contacts, but I shouldn't be able to see the details or do add or do edit or anything else. Yeah, I have been allowed finally to see the list of the contacts, but when I try to create, probably I should be redirected to login. Yep, I have been redirected. Okay, no wonder. So, can edit. We can create actually a role which is called can edit and allow only the users which have this role to access the actions edit, delete, add. Deploy the app to Azure. Let's deploy the application right now as it is, and after that we'll wrap up public application DB context, default context, contact DB. Okay, let's try. Now contact manager, publish, selection, default connection. Contact manager. And this time I'm gonna check this box. Execute code first migration. Start preview. In my other Visual Studio I have been able to see all the changes. So let's see if I can do the same. Okay, here we go. Those are the changes. So let's say publish and see what happens. Start web deploy, publish the application package, SSL for path. I'm very curious to see how the database will be changed. Okay, now probably the application will be run. Oh, in the last used browser. Actually, not in the last used browser, but it hasn't been changed, I believe. Okay, so Azure, let's try CM. I should be able to access CM because I allow access to contact manager to everyone. Yeah, and it works as anticipated. If I try to edit, for example, I should be redirected to login. Yes, and I think this is a great point to stop this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll look at the interesting aspects of ASP.NET MVC. So let's make a summary. What we did actually is we have created a model contact. We're using code first approach. We enabled migrations. We did one migration, and after that we updated the database. Before updating the database, we saw how can we seed the table with data. Also, in this tutorial, we used SSL. We enabled SSL, Security Socket Layer, which was fun. And after enabling the migrations, we saw how can we use the authorization mechanism in ASP.NET MVC with the annotations to control the access to different actions of the controller, which is just great and very easy to be done. Okay, so thank you for watching, and hopefully it was helpful.